Recently, an actress got some press coverage. She stated in some interview that she never lets her kids eat at McDonald's. Now, that might seem like good parenting at first. It might seem like she's only doing what's in the best interest of her kids. But I'm here to tell you that no. Her decision to deny her kids McDonald's, she likely doesn't let her kids eat food from any fast food restaurant. That decision is not good parenting. It's not. It's really pretty simple to understand. You see, when you deny someone something, 100% you can't have this thing, completely and utterly deny them of a thing, whatever that thing is, you know what happens. That thing becomes really wanted, and that's bad. Now, I'll go into a few personal examples of my experience with this stuff as a parent. But first, let me explain the real root problem with this approach. Beyond the fact that denial builds desire, which is generally it does. I've said it over and over in my videos. I believe that the number one job of a parent is to prepare their kids for life as an adult. Now that statement, prepare them for life as an adult, it's a little vague. Ultimately, you, as the only parenting expert for your child, how you do that, the specifics of how you do that for your kids. The parents are really the only ones that can figure out the how to prepare your kids to live their best life as an adult. Now, look around. Think about the young adults you know. Now, I hope most of them are living their best life, living life at the boundaries of their abilities. But I'm willing to bet that you personally know far too many young adults that are not doing all that great. Definitely not living their best life. Too many young adults are struggling with the basics of adult life. You know, first a job or career that gives them some sense of meaning, heck, even having a job at all. Second, a personal life that includes relationships that bring them value and comfort, some degree of emotional security. And third, enough time and a few bucks to enjoy their downtime, the quiet time that helps tie it all together. That's the proverbial pie chart that is balanced, at least to some degree, between work, play, and relaxation, rest. Now, let me take a step aside for a second here. I wholeheartedly believe that far too much of the information we receive from social media, from traditional media, and many other sources is overwhelmingly general in nature. We, as individuals, we don't live in the general. We live in the specific. If you stop and think about the news and advice you get from all your information sources, I'll bet that although a great deal of it sounds smart, most of it is probably meaningless to you. It's general statements. They're general statements that have no value to you specifically. But with that being said, according to the latest studies, surveys, and polls, again, these tend to be too general in nature and often at odds with our own personal situations. Generally, I really don't like wasting my time putting too much faith in studies, surveys, and polls, but they do tend to give us an idea of the latest trends, behaviors, and attitudes. And current studies, surveys, and polls seem to show the last few generations are not doing very well transitioning from a minor, under 18 years of age, to living a healthy adult life. Now, let me get back to the topic. Any parent instituting 100% ban on something, it doesn't matter if it's social media, fast food restaurants, chocolate video games, TV, it doesn't matter what mom and dad have banned in their household. These bans will only lead to an increase in desire to do that which is forbidden. Any parent of a teenager that has foolishly uttered the following phrase knows exactly what I'm talking about. What's that phrase? You are no longer allowed to see that boy. You are no longer allowed to date that girl. How often do you think that ban works? If your job, first and foremost as a parent, is to prepare your kids for life as an adult, how does a complete ban on anything translate in any way, shape, or form to living life as an adult? Do the parents that institute these bans think their kids are going to ban things from their own lives as adults? I mean, seriously, what is the end game with complete bans for a child? What do you think you're teaching your kids by banning something? Let me give you a few examples I dealt with when my son was young. I've mentioned in earlier videos that my son played ice hockey, travel ice hockey. My wife and I spent many weekends traveling to nearby cities for tournaments. I always tried to make the travel and downtime, sitting around for hours in hotels waiting for game time, more fun by inviting a kid from the team to travel with us. Here's two quick stories. I'll just share two stories to make my point, but this weirdness happened more often than you'd think. Kid one. His parents had strict rules for eating, his diet, and those rules weren't based on an allergy or some biological issue he had. We lived in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, and Waffle House restaurants are a staple in the South. If you've lived anywhere between Pennsylvania down to Florida or as far west as Arizona, you may be familiar with a Waffle House. Georgia has more Waffle Houses than any other state. And this kid had lived in Georgia for years and had never eaten at a Waffle House. How did that happen? Well, his parents didn't eat at Waffle Houses. They were too bougie, too low class, not fancy enough. I didn't know this about the kid when we invited him to travel with us. What do you think would happen when this 10-year-old kid saw peanut butter chip and chocolate chip pancakes, hash brown casserole or sausage, egg, and cheese grits bowl, biscuits covered with sausage gravy, all that stuff on the menu? The kid was paralyzed. He couldn't decide what to eat. I'm not sure if he'd ever seen this type of cuisine. Now, later, when his parents found out that I ordered all kinds of stuff for him to try, they weren't too happy with me. But, come on. These kids were playing ice hockey, practicing 3 times a week and playing an average of 3 to 4 games almost every other weekend. Now, it's not like he was going to get fat from eating this relatively unhealthy food. Denial only led to this 10-year-old freaking out when giving an option that he had never before been offered. So, kid two, TV. We take a different kid with us on another trip. His parents never let him watch TV. Now, I'm not a big fan of letting kids watch hours of TV, but never? My wife and I quickly realized that he would sit on the end of the bed in the hotel room and not move. It was like he was hypnotized. We would try to talk to him, just ask him a simple question, no response. He didn't even hear us. Watching the TV was, for him, the equivalent of being drugged. I mean, it was kind of scary. We tried to keep the TV off, but he just kept turning it on and sitting back down. And I swear, I think the kid was drooling at one point. Completely denying a child from engaging in normal, everyday stuff they're going to deal with as adults is not smart. As a parent, you need to help them form healthy habits with certain things, not 100% remove it from their life. Screen time is obviously one of those things parents have to deal with. Watch my video on the screen time nightmare. I offer several suggestions on how you can help your kids form healthy habits regarding the screens in their life. But 100% denial, that does not work and will likely only make the issue worse. That's not parenting your kids. That's avoiding parenting your kids. Now, I could talk about the age-old concept of all things in moderation. But as I mentioned earlier, we don't live in the general, we live in the specific. Moderation for my son with some activity might be excess for your child, or vice versa. Most often, the 100% ban is not the answer. For example, telling your son or daughter to cut a friend, or worse, a boyfriend or girlfriend, 100% out of their life is most often the wrong way to handle the situation. Now, unfortunately, as much as I hate it, and as parents it's tough to deal with, sometimes a complete ban is absolutely necessary. You may need to proverbially put your foot down. Welcome to parenting. Sometimes it's very tough, miserable even. But sometimes that is the right way to handle it. You may find that your son or daughter's friend is, let's say, shoplifting or doing drugs at a young age or engaging in some other behavior that is dangerous to your child. In a situation like that, you're going to have to help them understand, explain to them the danger that behavior poses for them. Maintaining a relationship with someone doing bad stuff, can't do it, can't let it happen. That's a lesson every parent needs to teach their kids. Why? Because as adults, we are very likely to meet people that we should avoid, we should ban from our lives. 100% bans too often devalue the importance of a necessary 100% ban. Think about it this way. If you teach your son or daughter to see hate, racism, sexism, whatever, if you teach them to see that stuff everywhere, they're not going to develop the ability to see any of those things when it really matters, where it actually exists. It's why zero tolerance policies are dumb. It removes the necessity to see, to think, to reason, to take the time to understand the specifics of a particular situation. Zero tolerance is zero thinking, and that usually ends up with a bad result. Raising an independent, confident, good decision maker means dealing with, not avoiding, the tough stuff in parenting. The thing is, only you, the real parenting expert for your child, only you can determine what's best for your child. No one else can do that. You may be able to get some great advice from some people, other people, tips, tricks, and hacks, which can be very helpful with a specific parenting issue you're dealing with. But ultimately, you're the one, the only one that knows what's best for your child. 100% ban, a zero tolerance policy, that's lazy parenting. You don't raise an ICD adult by avoiding the tough stuff. Independent, confident, good decision makers are built by purposefully challenging them with the tough stuff and teaching them how to deal with that stuff on their own, readying them for adulthood. You have to accept that. That challenge is yours. And if you do it right, your kids will be the ones that benefit. Thanks for listening.